Hello and welcome, lovely lads. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. In this video, we'll be looking at Python lists, which is a very important and versatile data structure that you will be using quite frequently. So lists allow you to store all kinds of data, such as strings, integers, or even the list itself. So whether you are organizing some like directory in which you're storing the numbers, or you are like building cool application to show your friends, lists are very useful for your journey. So in this video, I'll show you step by step how you can work with the lists. When dealing with lists in Python, the first thing that you would like to do is know how to create a Python list. There is two ways to do so. First is using the square brackets like this. And another one is to use the round brackets, but with a list constructor, something like this. Let's see how in practice you can do that. Let's say we want to create a Python list that contains the integer values from 1 to 5. You can do so by saying my numbers, let's say, equals to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, if you want to check the type of a variable my numbers, so we can indeed see that this should be a list class. So we see here that this is list, not any other type of variable like singular variable like integer, floating point, or a string, but it is a class that is defined as list. Another way to define list is by using the constructor called list that I mentioned earlier. And that could be, let's say we want to create a list that contains names of the individuals. So names equals to list, and then you will pass in the name within this round brackets here. So let's say the first name is myself, that is Kaleem. Then we have another name, Brian. Then we have another name, Joseph. So if we run this code, now another list containing the names of the individuals is created, and we can see also the type of this variable names is class list as well. You can also see which elements are present inside our list by using the print command, and you pass in the names, and you see that the names indeed are created here. Once you have created a Python list, you would like to access the elements that are present within that. So let's say we want to obtain the first element that is present in our list, my numbers, that you could do so by just passing in the index in the square brackets. So let's say my numbers, and the first element would be obtained by passing in the 0th index. Remember, in Python, the indexing of lists, arrays, or other variables start from 0. Not only in Python, but in many programming languages, if you have not worked with that, they always start from 0. So this should return as the first value, that was 1. Also, if you want to obtain the multiple values present in our list, that you could do it by the list comprehension. So let's say we want to obtain from values from 0th index up until the 4th index. We can do so by saying my numbers going from 1 to 4th index. And if we run this code, this should print out the values from 1, 2, 3, 4. We run this code. Okay, so 2, 3, 4. Yes, sorry, my mistake, because we passed in the first index, that is like considering from second element. So if we pass in 0 here, this should print out 1, 2, 3, 4. And another thing to keep in mind is that when you are working with the list comprehension, you can also pass in the step that it should jump. For example, let's say we want to print 1, 3, and 5. This you can do by saying my numbers element going from 0 to the end of the list. That should be length of my numbers. And then it should jump the two values, not here, sorry, here. And now if we will see that it should print out 1, 3, and 5. Here we go. And another thing to remember is that you can also check if certain value is contained within a list with the help of an operator called in. So if we want to check, let's say, the 3 value is present in my numbers, you can do so by if 3 in my numbers. And if this is true, then just print out yes, yes, the value is present. Else, let's say, no, the value, the list doesn't contain the value. Here we can define it. The list doesn't contain the value. So now if we run this code, we should see that yes, the value is present because 3 was inside indeed in our list. And let's say what happens if we pass some other value here, let's say 10. Now the second option, the list doesn't contain the value, should be printed out. So once you have understood how to obtain certain elements within our list, next thing that you would preferably do is to change the values of that indexes. Let's say here we in our list my numbers that contains integers. We don't like these last two values 4 and 5. And instead we want to put 9 and 10 here. So you can do so by saying my numbers, obtaining these two indexes with the help of a slice that we just discussed. Let's say from the index 3 to the index 5 here, because 5 is not included in here. And here we can pass in the list of 9 and 10. Now, if you run this code, my numbers should be updated. And if we check out the values that are present in my numbers, we should indeed see that the last two values from 4 and 5 have been modified. So now let's say you want to put certain value within in the middle of the list. So let's say you want to put 100 value in here between the 3 and 9. So the way you can do so is my numbers dot insert, which is a predefined function in the list class. And this allows you to take index and value here. I'm just showing it here to make you understand. So you need to pass in the index at which you want to put the value and then the value that you want to put. So let's say the value we want to put here is 100 and the index that we would like to add is, so here is 0, 1, 2, 3. So third index should be fine. Now if we try to see the my numbers, we should indeed see that the 100 value is inserted between 3 and 9. So after you have understood how to change or modify a list at a certain index, maybe it's time to check how you can append certain values to it. Let's say if you want to add one value at the end of our list here that we have defined here that contains integer values from 1 to 10. So let's say we want to add 11 to this list as well. So my integers dot append. This is a method defined in the class list that allows you to add singular value here. So if we run this code now, if we try to print out my integers, we should see that values are now going from 1 to 11. You can not only just append a singular value, but you can also add multiple values to it. This you can achieve so by my integers dot extend method that is defined inside the list class as well. And here you can pass in another list that contains, let's say, 12, 13, 14, and 15. So now if we try to see what are the values that are present inside my integer list, should be going from 1 to 11, 15. So 11 has been added singularly, and then we added 12, 13, 14, and 15. So after you have understood how to add the values to our list with the help of append and extend, maybe it's time to now know how to iterate over all the elements that are present inside our list, all the elements or the elements that you would like to iterate through. So let's say we want to iterate over all the values here and add them together. Okay, so this you can achieve through with the help of a loop in list. And the way to do so is, let's say we create some variable called sum. Let's not call it sum because sum is also a predefined keyword in Python as well. So let's say the my sum is equals to the zeroth value, and then you iterate over all the elements in my integers and you add those values to the my sum variable. And this you can do so by saying my sum plus element. And now if we run this code, we should see that this has indeed changed the value of my sum, which should result in the sum of all these values that are present inside our list. There is another way to do the same thing as well, and that is with the help of a while loop. While loop allows you to meet a certain condition in order to break through the loop. And this you can do so by saying, like say, let index is equals to 0. Then you say while, here we can new sum. We can define another variable in order to compute the sum. So here, while the index is less than the length of our list, my integers, and if this is true, go inside the body of the loop. And here you can say new sum equals to new sum plus the our list that was my integers, and then you pass in the index. So this should obtain the value at this index. And once you have obtained that index, you need to also update the index because you don't want to like keep receiving the same value inside the list. So here you will say index is equals to plus 1. You can also, like for example here, you can also add the values in this manner as well, which is kind of cooler, I think. So let's say we can also do this here instead as well. So plus equals to my integers at this index. So now if we run this code, this should update the new sum value. And if we print out the new sum, we gonna see that indeed here is also 120. This is how you can iterate over the list in two different fashion. Remember, the what we did here could also be done in Python in a very simpler way. So this is just to make you understand how loops work in Python. But you can also say, let's say, sum, which is a predefined method. Similarly, we are using like length. So there is also a sum that takes the list, my integers, and computes the sum of all the elements. So if you run this code, we should see 120 as well. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Please stay tuned because these were like the basics of Python. You need to practice all these topics that we discussed today. Tomorrow, we will be looking at some advanced topics inside the list. And later on, we'll be talking about the dictionaries as well. So if you have any question, you don't understand something, feel free to comment below. And see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Have a nice day.